Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at another fun mod, this time in the form of Alcubierre Warp Drive, a standalone version of one by Rover Dude of Umbra Space Industries fame. We have taken a look at a fair few of Rover Dude's creations in the past, and this one is just another fine addition to the list. It is, of course, a Alcubierre Warp Drive, but a standalone one. Most of the versions of Alcubierre drives that we see on the mod forums are a part of something such as the Interstellar mod. This one, though, is a standalone, stock-alike Alcubierre drive that requires no other dependencies. You can throw this into your stock game and it fits in and is quite well balanced. So if we just grab a random cupola module here and the for size comparison, and then head on over to propulsion, of course, and here we have it, the Alcubierre drive, and it is a beast. Not only is it massive in size, as you can see here. Look at that baby. Oh, it is beautiful, and look at all the detailing on the textures. It is simply glorious, but this thing is also a beast in what it requires to actually function. As you can see there, electrical charge, yeah, that's how much it uses per second max, and exotic matter is what it creates, and xenon gas is how it basically maneuvers. So basically what you have here is electrical charge. It eats up a crap load of it to create exotic matter, which it then eats a crap load of that to actually shoot the craft forward at up to 1.6 times the speed of light. So still, you're going quite quick, but not as quick as some of the warp drive mods that I've seen out there. And, of course, it is up to 1.6. It is variable by the throttle control, and you use xenon gas to actually maneuver while you are in the warp bubble, because that is actually one of the fun things with this, which we'll get to a second here. We actually do have a warp bubble. It's wonderful. And, yeah, this thing is just... oh, dear God, it takes a whole lot of electrical power for this thing to run. Because that is the only resource you actually need for this craft to actually fly. Like, we could technically pop this out onto the launch pad, and it would work if we gave it some solar panels. If we slap some solar panels on this thing, it would charge up and be able to fly eventually. Technically. Another limitation we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, you might still be saying, though, hey, it's an engine that makes us go 1.6 times the speed of light. Isn't that OP? Well, not really. It's quite well balanced, and I think fits quite nicely into the stock version of the game. Because, like I said, first off, it eats up a whole lot of electricity. For instance, this is the craft I made that does function, and it takes this ship with a multitude of batteries and all of these little nuclear generators. We got more down here. Look at all those. It takes this an entire day to build up exotic matter to the full amount that this drive can carry. Now, you can, of course, start the engine off of very little exotic matter, but to fill the tank entirely, it requires a huge amount of electricity. And this ship, like I said, took an entire day for us to fill the exotic matter tank. So there you are right there, one bit to sort of balance this. Another thing for balancing is the size of the craft you can make. Now, it is still quite large, but if we toggle this warp bubble and zoom out, this bubble right here, which we are at the extent we can zoom out in the VAB, but yeah, this bubble that you can see is the extent to what you can have, or the extent of the size your ship can actually be. Anything outside of this bubble over here will be ripped apart. Apparently. I haven't fully tested this yet. We'll try it out in a moment. But yeah, basically anything outside of the bubble will be destroyed. So you have to build your ships within the confine of the bubble, which is quite a large bubble, granted. But still, you can't just make some gigantic ship in orbit and then launch the whole thing off of one of these drives. It does have, rather, a size that you have to fit it within. So another thing to not be quite as OP. Also, the warp bubble itself can kill you. If it collapses when you're in flight, your ship could be destroyed. So, the warp bubble also dangerous. If you run out of exotic matter while you're flying, your ship will get ripped apart. Also, if you try to maneuver too much while in warp flight, your ship will also be destroyed. So, there's just all sorts of things to sort of help balance this out to make it not OP. So, it basically, to sum it up, requires a crap load of electricity. Yeah, with stock electrical parts, it is possible, but it takes a long time. Again, this ship took an entire day to charge up all of the exotic matter. Also, the bubble has to be inside of it, and if the bubble collapses while in flight, or if you maneuver too much, you will die. That's basically what it comes down to. And, yeah, it's wonderful. I like that. And another limitation is also, there is an altitude limit, I guess is what you would call it. You have to be above 500 kilometers to even start the engine. If you are inside of 500 kilometers from a celestial body, the engine stops. It just dead stops. So there is another limitation to the engine to try and keep it not quite so overpowered. So let's actually go and take a look at two of these crafts that I've put into space. Using cheats, of course, because, well, let's take a look at just the Warp 1 here. That's the same craft we were just looking at in the VAB. Okay, now I put this baby up here into space using Hyper Edit and put it just within the 500 kilometer sort of a limit that you have to have, and you'll notice if we try to activate the engine here, now you'll see it tried to create a warp bubble, but it was unable to actually successfully do it because we are within that 500 kilometer sort of restriction. And yeah, it is kind of an interesting thing to add in. I kind of like it though, because it prevents you from, just sort of cheatily using the Alcubierre drive to get you right into it and the atmosphere of a planet to then aero brake from it. I kind of like the idea of then you having to sort of get into orbit yourself, because of course, once you get around a planet, you do have to solve your orbit issue, which means you'll need a lot of Delta V to then get you into a stable orbit. But let's actually bring up Hyper Edit and put my orbit just above where we need it to be, so that we should be able to use the Alcubierre drive with no issues. Now, we're going to need to point this baby away from the planet, because if we shot it right now, we would just end up going back into the 500 kilometer sort of zone. So there we are. Let's point ourselves out into space, just randomly into the cosmos. Oh boy, there we go. Stop. I've almost done a circle. There we are. Let's just point ourselves there. Make sure we're throttled all the way down. Activate the engine. Now you'll see we have a stable warp bubble. And like I said, anything outside of this bubble will get destroyed. And that, yeah, that is something you don't want to happen. We do have another ship in orbit we'll take a look at in a second, where I have some things that are poking outside of the bubble, so we'll take a look to see how exactly that goes. But now, to speed up the engine, all you need to do is throttle up. And you'll notice down here we have electrical charge, the exotic matter, and the xenon gas. Now, like I said, the electrical charge creates exotic matter, and the xenon gas and the exotic matter actually powers the Alcubierre drive, and the xenon gas is used for maneuvering. And, oh boy, we're draining 93 power at the moment. That is a lot. So let's just throttle up a little bit. Ooh, look at those lighting effects. We are basically lighting. Oh my god! Oh, that's what happened. We ran out of power, and so things inside the bubble began to collapse. Like I said, if the bubble collapses, your ship begins to get ripped apart, and we ran out of electricity. Oh boy, that's not good. I didn't realize we'd run out that quick. And again, that just goes to show that this thing, it takes a whole lot to actually get to function. Now, we did get quite a ways away from the planet. We are now 1,200 kilometers above the planet, so we just went up about 600 or 700 kilometers away from the planet within seconds. So let's see our orbit now. Whoa, look at that, baby. So our apoapsis is now at 8 million meters away, and this was done in just a couple of seconds before our warp bubble began to collapse on itself. Oh boy, I did not realize the bubble would collapse that quickly. That is impressive. But yeah, again, that just goes to show that this is not an OP mod. You have to have a whole lot of electricity. And I actually think, now looking at this, solar panels probably would have been a better choice to go with. I figured the number of all of these little nuclear reactors would equal out to what we needed. But yeah, I think solar panels would have been a better way to go. But oh well, live and learn, live and learn. So that's basically how the Alcubierre Drive works, and if you had a better power setup, you'd be able to go much, much further. But yeah, again, just in a few seconds, we went a huge distance, which is wonderful. So let's go to the map, and actually go to this Warp 2. Let's switch over to it. And this, as you can see, we have these just large pylons going out, and if we turn on the Warp Bubble Guide, you'll see that they are outside of the bubble. So, if we... Are we pointed away from the planet? Let's turn a little bit more, just to be on the safe side of things. I am turning the opposite way that I should be. Hold on a moment. Come on, turn a little bit more. There we go, that should be enough. And if we activate the engine on this one, as you can see, the warp bubble destroyed everything outside of the bubble. And instantly, it just severed them. And so, yeah, you can't build outside of that, so you do have that lovely restriction. And I gotta admit, I just love the effect of this warp bubble. But let's actually try to see if we can throttle this thing up for a little bit longer than our previous one was. We tried to throttle it up probably about to 15 or 20%. Let's just activate the engine, and we'll turn off exotic matter, because we have a lot of it in the tank, so we don't need to keep producing it. And let's just throttle up a bit. And oh wow, we are going very quickly and slowly pulling away from the planet. So actually, with this power setup, it goes not that bad. We are currently using a crap load of power, but it's sustainable with our setup that we currently have with all the little mini reactors. And we are using up our exotic matter, so if we go to keep producing exotic matter, oh boy, look at that. That just drained our power to massive degrees. But at just a couple % on our thrust. Look at that. The planet is that much smaller now than it was before. That is just wonderful. And we have maneuvered a little bit, so we've used a little bit of xenon gas. But let's power this baby up a little bit more. There we go. And there goes the planet right to our backside. And oh, I didn't notice this previously. We have different colors on the front and the back of the Alcubierre Drive. That is wonderful. I do like that effect. Let's... There we go, turn those off. And yeah, so at this throttle, it's somewhat sustainable. We have a good warp bubble. We've moved quite a ways away from the planet now. We are still gaining a little bit of power. And currently, with our map... Oh boy, look at that. We are... So with just seconds, really, probably about a minute, we probably could have already intercepted Duna. That is how wonderful this thing is. I really like it. And actually, looking at Bill, let's look at his IVA view. Oh, look at that. That is... that is beautiful. And suddenly I have the Doctor Who's theme song stuck in my head. But that is glorious. I really, really do love this standalone Alcubierre drive. Even though it can let you go faster than light, up to 1.6 times the speed of light, it's quite well balanced. It requires huge amounts of power for you to go at the speed of light, let alone beyond the speed of light. And if you run out of power or you run out of exotic matter, the bubble will collapse and your ship will just get ripped apart. You have to build within inside the bubble to make sure that, again, things don't get ripped apart. And it's great. I really, really do like this standalone drive. It is simply wonderful, and we are just gaining bigger and bigger apoapsis all the time with this. Let's, cut off the engine real quick. That is how far we have gone from Kerbin. Look at that. That is just way back in the distance now. And let's throttle this baby up a bit more. We are using a lot more exotic matter now. But yeah, creating exotic matter is what is the biggest drain on power. Oh, I do also like this. The higher you throttle up, the color changes. So now we've got green and blue. That is great. Oh, oh! I went too fast and we broke apart. No, Bill, he's trapped in just the cupola module with the SAS, and that's all he has. Oh my. So yeah, we broke apart at about 75%, somewhere around there. Yeah, so with this ship, this basic ship, we have been able to, no, unknown objects, lots of unknown objects. Let's go to you, no, that's Kerbin. I want Warp 1. Let me go to Warp 1. Oh, to heck with it. But yeah, with a simple ship, we've been able to get, oh my, 13 million, oh no, that's billion, 13 billion meters away from Kerbin in just a few short minutes, without any time acceleration. We, of course, have exploded now, so Bill is screwed. But yeah, if we would have controlled it at about 50, we could have gone on quite a ways into the solar system before the warp bubble popped. And yeah, that's why I love this standalone Alcubierre drive. In my mind, it's well balanced, nowhere near OP. It's very nicely done, stock alike. And so yeah, if you would like to check this out for yourself, you can or follow the link in the description to download the mod. And yeah, I hope you all have enjoyed this episode today, and of course that you come back for the next. But until then, thank you for watching, my friends, and as always, have a good one. Now Bill's just gonna float around for a while. I'll send the other ship to rescue him at some point. Maybe. Later, guys!